Alright, I'm Kylie and this is Stephanie, and we're going to talk a little bit about team and group dynamics, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with the Steiner's model. It shows the relationship between abilities or resources on a team and how team members interact. Do you think evaluating the abilities of individual team members is a good way to predict how a team will do or perform during their season?
Oh, most definitely. Even though, when you consider a team sport, a group of us come together, we each have our own individual, attributes that come into play. So if you have a player who's going to be, depending on whatever let's throw out basketball, for example. If you have someone who's coming in who's a strong defender, who's good about rebounding, you're not going to be putting that person up on the front as a guard, right? So I think you're going to really have to look into each individual's, traits to see, how they can combine that into a team effort. Same with football. Look at football. I know you and I are big football fans.
Yeah.
You have, let's put the Packers out there. You have, Aaron Rodgers, and then you got Clay Matthews. You got two different. You wouldn't put Clay Matthews in the front line knowing he's a linebacker, right?
Yeah.
I just think you've got to before the season starts, you've got to look at each individual and see what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are, so you know how you can implement that into a team effort. So.
Also, that model implies that a team's actual productivity does not usually match its potential productivity, and that there are two kinds of losses that cause faulty group process, which is coordination and motivational loss. Like, coordination is basically the timing of the players, like especially with basketball and football, like you mentioned, and then motivation, just not giving all their effort. What is the mental process that one goes through that causes motivational loss, you think?
Well, I think there's several different things that go into. You throw out maybe an injury. Say a player has a mild injury and they start getting back to the game from that injury, and they're just not back up to par like they used to. That starts to kind of be, psychologically it takes a toll on you, and then motivationally you start to you become frustrated, and a lot of times when you become frustrated, what happens? Some people give up, some people, right, exactly. Yeah. Other people fight harder, but a lot of times you see people lose interest. Motivation also comes from how you take care of yourself. A lot of people who are not, a lot of these athletes, if they're up all night, not sleeping well, eating well, that's all going to affect your motivational levels, right?
Yeah.
So, there's a lot that comes into play. And motivation for each individual, people ask me as far as in here, how do you make people motivated? I say, it's a challenge. I can't just be with that person holding their hand. Motivation, that's just an individual drive that we all have, So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, a team's potential productivity, it refers to a team's possible best performance when considering all the players' ability, knowledge, and skills, both mental and physical, as well as the demands of the task at hand, whichever team they're competing against. And referring back to that model, it says the individual's ability is probably the most important resource for a sports team. And so the team made up of the best individuals will usually achieve the most success. Do you agree with that?
Yes, for the most part, but then there comes a challenge. Okay, I'm going to throw out, now you've got the Golden State Warriors that have all this talent come together. Now you've got the top notch of all the top notch players, and you get all these individuals who are incredible players, but then come together as a team, that can become problematic, because guess what? Every star wants to shine. But for the most part, I think if you get those individuals, I want to go back to 2013 when U of L won the national championship in basketball. Look at that team. That was a brotherhood right there. And each of those players had awesome dynamics coming in individually. We had strong shooters, we had strong defenders. We could press like nobody else. So, you have those strong traits of individual traits that are the top notch come together, and they can play together mentally. You look at the frustrations across players' faces, and you can see them when they're playing. And a lot of these kids are so young, they haven't grown in to develop the maturity skills to know how to handle those frustrations. So you get on the court, and that's when you see some temper tantrums thrown, and like Grayson Allen for Duke.
Yeah. Now I'm going to move on to the Ringelmann effect. This is when individual performances decrease when the number of people in the group increases. Why do you think this happens?
think of basketball, usually there's 12 players on the team.
Yeah.
Usually, sometimes you could add a little more depending on how many red shirts and all that's going on. But so you get a bunch of talent on one team, and then if you keep adding that talent, you will start to see, because there is so much good talent out there that one individual doesn't get a chance to really show themselves. So you do see a decrease sometimes in that. I was going to say it'd be interesting. Watching, I've been watching a little bit of the Golden State Warriors, but they're just not shining like they have in the past because they got all this talent now, right? You know, but we'll see.
Yeah. I'm going to move on to social loafing. It's a term used when individuals in a group or on a team don't put forth like 100% effort because of loss of motivation. If athletes believe that social loafing is happening on their team, even if it's not actually happening, why might they do that themselves and not put it forth as much effort and lose motivation?
And once again, these we forget, especially in college, that these kids are still maturing. The brain, the researchers found the brain is not fully developed to about age 25 as far as moral reasoning and being able to kind of look at things logically and get it. And so if you're perceiving, think about if you're in a conversation with somebody, if you're perceiving that person's upset with you or that they didn't like what you had to say, what happens with you? You become either defensive or you become upset or you become bothered or anxious. So that's the same thing out on the court or on the field. If you're thinking that everybody's starting to become unmotivated and they're not, giving 100%, you step back and you become either upset, frustrated, or down about what's going on the team. So that definitely, you can see that sometimes happening. You were on the dance team, right?
Yeah.
So you could probably see if the girls are at practice and you may perceive like everybody's in a mood, but they may not be in a mood. It just seems like that atmosphere becomes negative, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And studies shown enhancing social support among teammates and building trust can help decrease any social loafing happening on a team. What might be some suggestions you would have for a team to help them reduce or prevent this from happening?
Oh, I'm all about team building. I'm all about outside of when you're practicing with the team, they go out and they'll have dinner together. They go out to the movies together. You get together, you build up that bond and that friendship, because if you're able to get along with that person and you appreciate that person, you're going to want to build that other person up, or they're going to build you up. So there's so many different things those kids can do. A lot of times I know with Rick Pitino, he'll have them over to his house, and have a big dinner, have a big Italian dinner, and that's pretty cool to go over to the coach's house and have a big home cooked meal. So things like that, not just focus on hey, it's practice time, but let's outside of here, let's enjoy life too.
Yeah.
Let's remember that there is life outside of there. So they're thinking, hey, we all are get along outside of practice, so that's cool that we can bring that into practice, right?
Yeah.
So stuff like that's what I would suggest.
Norman Triplett, he conducted an experiment way back in the 1890s that proved people performed better when they were around or competing against other people. Why do you think it is that athletes or people in general perform better when they are in the presence or competing against one or more individuals?
So more in the, if it's like golf, golf is more kind of an individual thing, even though you're around other people. You are gonna see, if you're in the big PGA, golf tournament, you got people ahead of you, you can see numbers. You want it. It's that competitive drive, right? I mean, when you're an athlete, you're gonna want to push yourself to perform and to be top notch. So if you've got other people you see that are that you're getting challenged by, it forces you to kind of say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna prove myself here. Step it up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm about when people play down to their competition. If you're playing a team that's maybe not on your level, they kind of sometimes play down to that level, don't they? But if you're playing a team who is like one of the top teams, you will see these athletes that just all of a sudden they come alive, right?
Kind of like IU when they played Kansas. It was
Right.
the number 2 team, and then they go to Fort Wayne. And
IU Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
IU Fort who?
Yeah.
So, right. Lose that game.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Coach K, the men's basketball coach at Duke, he says the first thing he does at the beginning of every season is to make sure all his players fit into the team concept and support each other. With that being said, how important do you think it is that teammates support and believe and trust each other?
I think that's one of the most crucial things in any team that needs to be there, is that any human relationship, what needs to be there is that trust, and that you can depend on that person. You see that, I don't care if it's in a marriage, if it's in a friendship, if it's in a work situation, in a team. If you don't trust that person, it's going to be a challenge. So to build those relationships together to where you feel that camaraderie, that's crucial. That's why these teams that you see succeed. I mean, you see that brotherhood, that high five, and that hug, and you know what I mean. They know that player. Hey, they could trust if you're an alley-oop, but they know that player's gonna be down there ready to catch a ball and dunk the ball. I mean, it's stuff like that. So trust is probably one of the number one things you need.
Alright.
Yeah, I have to agree with Coach K on that one, even though I'm not too so.
It's a pretty good idea.
It is a good idea. That's why he's been a successful
I was gonna
coach.
say he's so successful, so you
Right.
can't really argue with him.
Exactly.
Yeah. And last question, just about every team has a bad game or goes through a rough patch at some time during the season, and some teams are not in the best mental state when that happens. What do you think they need to do to get back to that positive and winning mindset?
Techniques I throw out there, having a background in sports psychology myself, is that imagery. So you imagine yourself at that line, at that shot, visualizing yourself being able to hit that shot, being able to perform. Positive self-talk, being able to say, hey, you know what, I had a bad game, but I'm going to throw it up, I'm going to get through this, I'm going to do better next time. I mean, just keep continuing to work through those negative thoughts. And when those negative thoughts come in, challenge to say, you know what, we all have bad, we're humans, we're not perfect, but I'm going to improve, I'm going to do better, I've got this. Keep telling yourself those things, get some sleep, eat well. I mean, there's all those things that go into it. So healthy self-care, that's what I encourage people to do,
Awesome. Well, thank you for sitting down with me for a few minutes.
You're welcome.
And sharing all your wonderful insight. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Glad to help. So.